Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be a declutter. I recently went through my entire makeup collection and just grabbed products that I was no longer using, or when I was using them, it felt like I was forcing myself to use them because I knew I hadn't reached for them in a while. When in reality, if I wasn't reaching for those, I could have been using something that I enjoy using so much more. So these are just products throughout my collection that I just don't need anymore, and I will likely be passing them along to either my daughter to play with, my mom, or my sister, or friends and family. But they just no longer serve a purpose in my makeup collection. Now, I also just have been having this feeling of kind of a feeling that I had right before I started panning, where I feel like my makeup collection was just growing and feeling a little bit out of control, which is another reason that I wanted to do this declutter. I am going to try and do like quarterly declutters, not where I take you through like each category by any means, but just kind of like today, where I share with you some products that I've decided to part ways with. So if you're interested, then stay tuned. First, if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, I hope you'll consider subscribing before leaving today. I do post a minimum of 4 times a week, so don't forget to hit that red subscribe button before moving on. And other than that, let's just jump into the video. Alright guys, we are going to start with one foundation I have decided to declutter, and I mentioned this in my possibly ranking foundations video, but this is the CoverGirl Clean Fresh Skin Milk Foundation. I picked this up at the beginning of the year, and first of all, this just did not do it for me. It was too dewy, it didn't offer enough coverage, and it was almost like the only coverage it offered was the sunken in coverage of my lines and wrinkles. So this did not look good on my skin. I've also seen a lot of people have bad reactions to this, and while I did not have a reaction to this, I didn't want to continue to use this in case a reaction happened someday. So I've just decided to declutter this. I've also decided to get rid of 2 concealers. First, I have this little mini that's just been sitting in my collection forever. It's from It's You, and it's the Skin Perfecting HD Concealer. I have been trying to use less concealer lately when I do my concealer, and I already feel like I've been struggling to get through concealer. I don't think I finished one concealer up this year. I finished up the Flower Beauty one towards the beginning of this year, but other than that, I just have not finished up any concealers, and I feel like my concealer collection was getting to be a little out of hand. So I did decide that I can just part ways with this, since I haven't felt the need to open this yet. And then I've also decided to get rid of my e.l.f. Camo Concealer. This is the original one, not the hydrating one, and this was way too heavy for me. I don't know why I decided to even purchase this, because so many people said that this was a more affordable option to the Tarte Shape Tape, and I don't even like the Tarte Shape Tape, but I just had to know what this was all about, and for me this was just way too full coverage and way too heavy. If you have severely dark circles or like a very full coverage concealer, I can see why you would like this, but this just was not a good product for me. I have also decided to get rid of my Milk Blur and Set Powder. This just does not look good on my skin, whether it be under the eyes or all over the face. It just looks too heavy and too powdery. I've tried many times, I've given this so many second chances, and this just doesn't work for me. So I am just going to get rid of it, because anytime I've tried to use it, I like dread how my skin is going to look for the day, and that's not the point of makeup. So I am going to be getting rid of this guy from Milk. For bronzer, I have decided to part ways with 2 bronzers. So I did decide to finally declutter my Urban Decay Beached Bronzer. There have been so many times I've thought about decluttering this and then used it again and decided not to. But the reason I am finally deciding that I'm okay with parting ways is because every time, it's like a cycle with this. It sits there in my collection. I'm like, I don't even know if I really like it that much. And then finally I'll be like, well, if you don't like it, you should declutter it. And then I'll decide to try it one more time. And then I decide, like, it's okay, like, I'm going to keep it. But then I don't get excited about reaching for it again. So why is this even in my collection? I have so many other bronzers I would rather reach for over this. So I am ready to finally part ways with the Urban Decay Beached Bronzer. And then the Natasha Denona Mini Bronze and Glow. I really liked this last summer, but I have found that this is just a little bit too red toned for my personal preferences these days. And also, just the size of the pan makes it very difficult for me to fit my bronzer brush in anyway. This is another product, I feel like I reach for this when I'm trying to decide if I want to declutter it, and then I decide, like, it's fine, I don't mind it, and then I keep it, but then it falls back into that same cycle. So I am just going to be getting rid of this. And then kind of in the same vein, I am going to be getting rid of a contour palette. So this is another thing that I have considered decluttering numerous times on my channel. This is a product I've just considered decluttering numerous times throughout its life in my collection. This is the Kokie Contour Palette, and this is obviously a dupe for the Kat Von D Shade and Light palette, which I also do own. And I have decided that because I so rarely reach for either of them, I really only need one of them in my collection. And when I swatched them today, I just felt like the Kat Von D shades worked a little bit better. And also the formula was just more buttery. This is definitely a more dry formula. I don't contour that often, and I still have my Kevyn Aucoin sculpting powder as well. So I even considered decluttering the Kat Von D Shade and Light, but just couldn't get myself to do it just yet. I also have a little bit of hard pan. You probably won't be able to tell on this setting powder too, and I just never feel like reaching for this. And typically if I'm reaching for a contouring shade, it's my Kevyn Aucoin, which I'm trying to pan this year. So I am ready to part ways with this as well. Shoot, I missed this last little bronzer I've decided to get rid of. So this is the Too Faced Chocolate Soleil Bronzer, and I did not realize that I actually have the medium to deep. I think I got this in an Ipsy bag, and while I do really like this bronzer and would even consider purchasing the light to medium shade in like a full size, I just decided that I don't need the medium deep shade in my collection. I think it's a really nice product, and this shade can work for me in the summer. I've really enjoyed it in the past, but it takes a little bit of finessing just because it is deeper for my skin tone. So I just decided, you know what, I can pass this along. I actually have quite a bit of blush I have decided to finally part ways with, and let me tell you, I don't know why, but this was really difficult for me. But I started to like swatch things side by side to other blushes in my collection. Blush is a category that I feel like is getting really out of control. Same with highlights, but I'm only decluttering a highlight palette, no single highlighters. Doing really great. But I have decided to get rid of one blush palette and 4 single blushes. So I believe I ranked this last in my ranking my blush collection. This is from the Balm. This is the Balm Springs blush. This is a really pretty blush, but I just would rather reach for so many other blushes over this that when I do reach for this, I feel like I'm forcing myself to reach for that, and it's really just not the point of makeup. So that tells me I'm ready to get rid of that. And then another one, the Clinique Cheek Pop in Ginger Pop. I really like the Clinique Cheek Pop formula. I've recommended it many times on my channel, but I've just come to realize that this shade is not a shade that I really like to use that often. It's just a really bright pink. And usually I like to go with more of like a nude or neutral blush shade, and I'm not really reaching into this type of shade, which is why I've decided to get rid of it. I still do have Honey in the Clinique Cheek Pops, and I love that shade. Again, I still love the formula. I think this is a really nice formula. I just don't need this shade in my collection anymore. This one was tough for me, but I am deciding to get rid of the Wet n Wild Color Icon Blush in the Princess Daiquiris. Daiquiris? Yes. This is what it looks like. It's a really light neutral blush shade, and I actually really do enjoy this blush, but I'm not reaching for it that often, and I have a couple other blushes in my collection that are very similar in tone to this, not exact dupes, but really similar, which on the cheeks you probably couldn't even tell a difference. It swatched very similarly to Dandelion from Benefit, which I am currently trying to pan, and then also one of my Hourglass blushes. The Hourglass one is more of a satin formula, whereas this is a matte. But even now I'm like, oh, do I really want to get rid of this? Ugh. I gotta do it. I gotta do it. I made the decision this morning. I was gonna get rid of this, so I'm not reaching for it. I can't even remember the last time I reached for it, so we're just going to declutter it. I've also decided to declutter my Flower Pots Powder Blush in the shade Sweet Pea, and I still have Warm Hibiscus. The reason I have decided to declutter this shade in particular, I don't know how well you'll be able to see it swatched there. It is a really beautiful mauve tone blush, but I usually only reach for this tone of blush in the fall and winter, and I swatched it next to Aurora from Lorac, and they're very similar in tone. I think Sweet Pea is a little bit more pink toned, whereas Aurora is more of a true mauve. But again, on the cheeks, they're gonna look about the same, and I love my Lorac cheek palette. It has like 4 blushes and 2 highlights, so I obviously was gonna keep that, and I just didn't feel like there was a need to keep this alongside that. Again, I can't remember the last time I reached for this, probably last fall. I just am not reaching for mauve tone blushes that often, and I really only need like 1 in my collection, which I have in that palette, so I feel fine getting rid of this. And then you guys, I'm gonna do it. I think I'm finally ready to get rid of my Tarte Blush Bazaar. I feel like I've been holding on to this for so many nostalgic reasons, but I'm not that excited to reach into this or to use it. I know so many people love this, and honestly, now that I'm looking at it, I'm like, do I really want to get rid of this? I need to. If I could pop out like this shade right here and this shade right here, that would be amazing, and maybe I'll see if I can figure out how to do that. But the rest of the shades, again, are just shades that are too deep typically for my skin tone, and I'm not reaching for them that often, so I'd rather just pass this along to someone who's going to get more use out of it than I am. I think I've reached for this a handful of times this year, and that's really it, and I felt like I've been forcing myself to reach for it, so I need to just get rid of this. I need to do it because I feel like I've been considering decluttering this for a couple of years now. Probably tells me it's time for it to go. The one highlighting product I'm getting rid of, I am going to declutter. This is my ABH Sweets Glow Kit. I am keeping, I think it's the Sugar Glow Kit that has 2 of the same highlights. And then I actually popped out the shade Taffy and put it in a Z palette. I'm sure I'll never reach for it anyway, but when I swatched it, I was like, I kind of want to keep this. So this has 2 shades that I already have in a different highlighting palette, and then this shade Sassy Grape is just one that I'm never, ever going to reach for. And I feel like I've just been holding on to this for like collector's reasons, which I'm just kind of overdoing. Like, I feel like I just shouldn't be hanging on to things that are there, at least so many things that are just there as like a collector's piece, but I'm not really using. Sure, if it has like a really huge nostalgic pull to my heartstrings or like a very sentimental purpose, but I can't just be keeping all of my ABH Glow Kits and all of my ABH palettes just because it's like a collector's piece. So I am deciding to pass this along. Okay, you guys, this mascara goes way back. This is the MAC Hot and Naughty 2 Black Lash Mascara. This used to be my ride or die in high school and college. For sure college. I can't remember if high school I was using a different one. But basically it has 2 different wands. So it has like the regular wand, and then you can twist off this on the top. And it's like a thinner wand but longer, and it's like for like the lower lash line, I believe. I could be wrong. This transfers so badly. I can't remember how this came into my life. I feel like it was in like a BoxyCharm, but I don't feel like MAC comes in BoxyCharm. However I got this, it was free. And I was so excited about it because it used to be my ride or die mascara, and I was like, oh, I haven't used this in years. I'm really excited to try it. This transfers so badly on me. I don't know how I used to get away with this, but I cannot use this. It just transfers way too. I can't trust this mascara, so I am just getting rid of this. It's not, I mean, I could ask my sister if she wanted this, but it's just not working for me. Yeah. All right, guys, next up I have this mini Urban Decay Brow Endowed, and it comes with a primer on one side and then color on the other. First of all, the color is too light for me. I'm not sure what shade this is, but the shade of the actual color is just way too light, and the primer side appears to be dried out. So I'm not really sure how this came into my life even. I don't remember how long I've had this, but this just needs to be thrown in the trash because it's dried out at this point. So I will be decluttering this. I have decided to get rid of 3 Bite Minis. I have the shades Rhubarb, Verbena, and then Papaya, I think, is like one of the multi-sticks. Really pretty, but just not a shade that I'm really going to be reaching for. So that is Papaya. Also, I'm going to get rid of Rhubarb, which I think my daughter got into anyway. There it is, swatched right there. It's just a shade that I'm not reaching for. And then also Verbena is another one that looks really icky, like it possibly fell on the ground. It's a really pretty shade, but there's like, I feel like this fell on the carpet, and this is breaking apart anyway. I would have to throw this away anyway. You guys, I've had this Sephora lip gloss for so long. It's in the shade Peek You Boo Pink. Peekaboo, not Peekaboo. And it's a really pretty gloss, but it's just a little bit gloopy, and honestly I've had this for so long it's definitely expired at this point, so I'm just deciding to get rid of this really pretty shade. Now I'm like, should I just sneak this back into my collection? But no, I need to do it. Also from Pretty Vulgar, I have the My Lips Are Sealed. This is like a metallic liquid lipstick, I believe, and I am never doing metallic lips, so I don't know why this has stayed in my collection for so long. This is like, as Kelly Gooch would put it, a fantasy self product. Like, I keep thinking I'm going to one day reach for this, but I'm definitely not. Then I also have this little mini Macy and Maya lip gloss. Really pretty gloss, a really pretty shade, but I just have so much gloss, you guys. I need to work some of these things out of my collection. This is a really pretty gloss. This is a really pretty shade. Hey, Mama. This one might make it back into my collection. I'm also going to be getting rid of this from NARS. This is their Power Matte Lip Pigment in the shade Rock With You. When these first released, was a huge fan of these, and I had 4 shades, but it's just a shade thing again with this, and these are also very drying. Not my type of formula anymore. This is it right here. It dries down to what looks to be an almost black shade. It's like a very deep cranberry. And again, I'm really only reaching for shades like this if I do during the fall and winter, and even so, I feel like what I have on right now, the Fenty Stunna lip paint in, I forget. This is like the deepest I go these days, so it's really time to get rid of this. I used to always wear deep vampy shades in the fall, just not my jam anymore, so I'm ready to say goodbye to this. And then I have 2 products left that I will be decluttering. First is the Urban Decay 24/7 Glide On Pencil in the shade Heartless. I don't even think they sell this shade anymore. It's a really pretty icy pink shade, but on the waterline it does not show up. In fact, this was one of my first Urban Decay 24/7 Glide On pencils, and I wasn't a huge fan of the formula in the beginning because this was one of my first experiences with the formula, and I just couldn't see it in my waterline. And I've used many other lighter eye pencils that I can see in the waterline. For some reason this just doesn't work for me and my waterline. So in the beginning I did not like the 24/7 Glide On pencils. Now I do like the formula, but this is not a good one, and I'm ready to get rid of it. And then the last thing I'm getting rid of, you guys, is this Model & Co. liquid eyeshadow in the shade St. Bart's. I just am not reaching for this. It's a really beautiful shade, but it's just a really thick formula, and this was another one. I had pulled it into my Shop My Stash, and it had been going for 2 rotations, and I told myself if I didn't reach for this, I was just going to declutter it, and I didn't reach for it, so I'm just going to declutter it. Alright, you guys, and after that, those are all of the products that I have currently decided to part ways with in my collection. Leave me a comment down below and let me know if you have recently decluttered any makeup throughout your collection. I feel like my makeup preferences have definitely been changing this year. I've been opting for wanting like more cream products and wanting to clear out some of my powder products to make room for more cream products within my collection. I've definitely been interested in trying some newer brands like Kosas, Ilia, and just branching out from what I've been used to. So yeah, those are the products I'm getting rid of. Thanks you guys so much for sticking around to watch today's video and for supporting my channel as you always do, and I will catch you in my next one.